Yami, Sorceress here! Part 3 of the Jack Frost cosplay tutorial, and this is the final part. In fact, it is my favorite part because we get to work with weapons. Would you count this as a weapon? Probably not. We're gonna just call it a staff because, oh, who am I kidding? It's still cool. So, what we will be doing is creating a very simple staff to complete my Jack Frost cosplay. Hopefully you guys will be able to use this, and it is quite simple. What you will need. First, let's take it apart here. This is nothing but PVC stuff that I got at Home Depot for cents. I'm not even kidding, cents. This is very budget friendly for your cosplay. What I have here is one simple long PVC pipe. This came in 10 feet, I believe, and I got it shortened down to 5 feet. So last time I checked, I'm 5'2", so yes, that's about 5 feet right there. I would suggest that to follow your Jack Frost cosplay, make it about your height, and you have this complicated device here, which, surprisingly enough, is more PVC pipes. You can easily find these at Home Depot. Just go down into your plumbing section and you find all these weird things. I'm no plumber at all. I assume it's just for something. Cricket. Anyway, what you're pretty much going to do is play jigsaw puzzles at Home Depot until you find a shape that you like that resembles Jack Frost's staff. So pretty much you're going to have all these little pieces. So what you're going to try and find is one PVC pipe that looks like it's going at almost a 90-degree angle, something like that. Anyway, look for this. This is the curvy one. You are then going to buy 3 not so curvy ones. I know that this is hard. The point is that go to your Home Depot and go and play with them. This is exactly what I did. So for about 20 to 30 minutes, I was sitting down at Home Depot trying to make all of this until I finally got the shape that I wanted. So you have your curvier one, you have your 3 curvy-ish ones, and then I had to get one of these in order to connect one of these to the other so that it did create the shape. So what we are going to do, I'm going to stick this extra piece on just one of the 3 ones that I showed. The longer, more curvier one is going to be at the top base here. This pretty much completes the top part of it. However, we do need something to stick into the base part here. And finally, last one in there. There you go. There's your hook. Or does anyone really have a name for what Jack Frost thing is? It's like a shepherd's thing. No idea. Put it all together, and there you go. Very simple. People, main object here is just go to Home Depot and play around and watch the people run around and think that you're a weirdo. It's always fun. So materials that you will need besides your wonderful PVC project from Home Depot, you will need, first and foremost, paper mache. I suggest, this is paper mache from Claycrete. I found this at my local art store down the street. I have seen it before in Michael's. This goes a long way. It's worth the money, it's worth the price, because I have already used it on 2 separate projects and I still have a lot left. Very simple to use. The only thing that I will not recommend for it is if you are trying to get smooth paper mache projects out, so you want a smooth surface. Do not use this kind. You must use another kind, the old-fashioned way, newspaper. That's probably the best. But for this, if you take a look at Jack Frost and his staff, it's pretty much made out of wood. So this gives a wonderful texture of looking like wood. I have an example here. This was kind of a failed project. I wanted to see what would happen with paper mache and a hat, or at least this type of paper mache. This was a little experiment on my Dark Magician Girl hat. I ended up making it out of foam, which turned out much better. However, I just want to show you the texture here. So the reason why it did not work for this, but you can clearly see that it's rough, but it looks like it has the texture of wood. So in this case, this type of texture is going to go very excellent with Jack Frost's staff. So pretty much what we are going to do is we are going to take the paper mache and we are going to cover this whole thing, top to bottom, in paper mache, just a very thin layer. And then finally, once the paper mache is all dry, 3 days later, whatever's happening in the future in 3 days, we are going to do our fun part, spray painting. I am using acrylic spray paint. You can use oil spray paint if you want. It is up to you. I just like acrylic because it dries faster, and I find that there's more color varieties. So what I am using is that I'm using a darker brown for the majority of it, and this is cocoa colored, so a darkish brown. It's supposed to turn out like this. And then I am also using, toffee. Cocoa and toffee. It's like a dessert coffee day for me. So this color is going to be the highlight, so give out a little bit more of the wooden features. Finally, once these are done, you're going to take your final step, white paint. So regular white paint. These are going to be for your ice crystal snowflake details that you see throughout Jack Frost's staff. So it's a fairly simple cosplay, a very simple weapon for anyone to really make. This is just one of millions of ways to do this. So if you guys have another way to do it, go for it. I applaud you for being so creative. This is how I will do it. So let's get started on paper mache drying time. Yay! Okay, hello down from here. Yes, it's not exactly the best situation for this camera being placed. However, this is the best way that I can show this. Right now, we are going to do the paper mache, and we are going to do just the top part of Jack Frost's staff. So I have my little water bucket here, and we are going to mix the paper mache, yeah, there we go, so something like that, paper mache into the water, and we are going to cover this PVC pipe all over so that none of the PVC pipe is showing, and by the time it dries, it'll be rock solid and have somewhat of a wooden texture. So let that soak in there. So if you guys have ever used this stuff, it does give off a little bit of a steam. I'm not sure if the camera is picking this up. This is pretty much just the dust that's coming out of the paper mache here. So yeah, it needs way more. As usual, I put too much water in here. Here's a little hint. If you guys want the paper mache to dry a little bit faster, try not to put so much water like I do. Don't follow my example. Read the directions on the bag, which says measure 1/8 to 1/4 cup of water for each 1 ounce of dry Claycrete to be mixed. Yeah. Anyway, follow the directions. Do not follow what Yami Sorceress does. Point is that get it wet until it's of, squeeze out some of the water here, until it's of about this consistency. What you are going to do now is that you are pretty much just going to wrap and press around the PVC pipe. So it looks very messy right now, but trust me, when it dries, it'll be wonderful and pretty. So just pretend that you are taking your toilet paper and wrapping it all around this wonderful pipe. And fast motion now. So now what I'm going to do is let this dry completely, which will probably take a day, maybe even 2. Now you notice how throughout the process I added these little knobs in these designated areas. This is because Jack Frost, the staff, isn't completely circular, isn't smooth. It's really just a combination of wood stuck together like a branch, really, if you take a look at it. So instead of finding a piece to put on the inside of this, really I just made it completely out of paper mache. The only concern with this is that these areas will take much longer to dry because all the water has to evaporate not only on the outside but also on the inside. So these areas will be very delicate for the next couple of days. However, the good news with this paper mache is that it will be completely rock solid and very hard to break once it dries completely all the way through. So over the next few hours, as some of the water drains from this and evaporates, there's going to be some holes that start to reveal the PVC pipe from underneath. Just use some extra paper mache or this will be pretty malleable for a while. Just spread it around so that the PVC pipe is completely hidden. One thing that you can do to speed up the drying process just a little bit is just simple paper napkins and just lightly go over the paper mache to suck up a little bit of the water. Some people use hair dryers or a heat gun in order to get this to dry faster. I have tried this before and it doesn't do the paper mache justice because it is then more prone to breaking and it's prone to splitting and it does not dry very well. If you are in a rush though, probably try it. I just suggest that you start this a good week before your convention so that it has time to dry. In the meantime, while this is drying, I am going to start on the very long part of the staff, and hopefully I can get that completely done and let that dry and sit, and I will not show you me covering the simple long rod because it's pretty much the same process as this and there's no knobs attached, so very simple and straightforward. So I will be back and I will show you all the pieces that will be on the table drying for the next few days, and then we just sit back and play the waiting game. So I am off. Okay guys, it has been 4 days. Yes, I know, 4 very long days for this to dry. And to be fair, it really was dry, the majority of it, at about 2.5 to 3 days. The only part that took forever were these little knobs that I put on, but I did warn you guys, it had to dry all the way through, but now it is rock hard. This thing can withstand pretty much anything. So now we are going to get to the fun part and the final part, and we are going to be spray painting. So for this, safety first. Camera's at a terrible angle, but you get the idea here. Face mask, and you want to be in a well-ventilated area, preferably even outside. I am not outside because it is thunderstorming at the moment, so sorry, well-ventilated area it is. So I'm going to start with my darker brown, and I'm going to spray paint all of this, and then in a few minutes, flip it back over, give it another coat, and then we'll move on to the lighter shade of brown to give it a little bit more emphasis on wood color. Let's get started. It stinks in here, but here you go. It's a beautiful, beautiful brown, and I'm going to let this dry for a couple minutes, 15 minutes about. And this is acrylic spray once again, so it will dry very, very fast. Once again, I suggest doing this outside as to not stink up your place. Very, very bad me. And yes, I will be back to do the light, and well, first I will be flipping this over and doing one more coat of this. Anyway, I will see you guys back in the next half hour to do the light part. Bye-bye. Okay, so it's a little bit dry right now. It doesn't have to be perfectly dry. You will be probably doing 2 coats if you want to the staff. However, I'm going to flip it over and do the other side now. I'll do this as best as possible here. Sorry, camera. There we go. And lost my mask. There we go. Mask. Mask on. Round 2. Okay, so the dark brown is done. I'm gonna let this sit for a couple more minutes while also trying to find areas that I missed, like that one. So it's okay if some of the white paper mache sticks through, because once again, there are some white areas on Jack Frost's staff. However, we will be using white acrylic paint later on in order to make the snowflakes more pronounced. So, gonna let this dry for a couple more minutes, and then we will move on to the final spray can, which is the lighter brown. And that will definitely not take as long as this, which only took about 2 minutes, so I'm over-exaggerating. Anyway, be back in a couple of minutes as I try and not die from all this poison in my lungs now. Bye! Okay, so this is as dry as I'm gonna let it to be at this moment. So now we are going to do the lighter color of the spray. And the trick with this is that you don't want to cover all of your work that you just did, so you're just going to spray back a little bit so that a little bit of this gets on the staff here. So fairly simple. You also have the choice. You can either paint this on and simple brush strokes. However, just for the sake of time, I'm doing spray painting. So starting back a little bit further, we are going to lightly spray a little bit on, and not sure if the camera picks this up, but you do see a little bit of the lighter now coming on. It looks more like wood in my opinion. So I'm going to do this for both this side and the next side, and I'm going to finish this side and just do the other side on my own. And then we will be back in a few hours when all of this is completely 100% dry. And then we will do the final step, which will be using your white acrylic paint to draw the snowflake designs on. And fair warning, this will probably be the longest part of the staff tutorial, just because if you want to make the snowflakes look right, you're going to have to go over them a few times. But we will get to that point as soon as I'm done here. So, speed it up again. Okay, now we are completely done with spray painting, and you might be wondering, okay, what's all this that's going on? It should look plain and simple, just like this. Well, I'm sorry, due to the lack of available time that I have left, I went ahead and did just a little bit of the next part, so no worries. But I did the top part with the snowflake designs throughout. Now, I did not mention this at the beginning of this tutorial. I apologize, but I added 2 more little things to add to the staff, so not really a big deal. It is your choice if you want to do it. I wanted to add just a little bit of sparkle, if you can see in areas. For that, I used my leftover glitter that I used for the sweatshirt tutorial. And I also added some blue acrylic paint, if you can see the blue in the camera there. And this is because if you look at some of the references of his staff, is that there are some areas of blue throughout. So what I did was that I used light blue acrylic paint, and I did not use a lot of it. I used way more of the white. So what I did was I took just a little bit of this and mixed it with just a tiny bit of the white to make it a little bit lighter, and then brushed it on in certain areas throughout the top part of the staff here. This was my choice, really, to make the staff this way. I was trying to make it match the sweatshirt. You don't have to do it this way. Once again, you are the artist, and I support whatever you choose. However, I wanted to be a little different, so I added more snowflake designs throughout. But if it helps, I did not do the giant, long stick part of the staff yet. So this is what I will be doing now, just to briefly show you the techniques that I'm using throughout. And I'm not going to do as many snowflake patterns with the swirls and the hooks that I usually make around like I did for the sweatshirt. So please see the description below for the sweatshirt link. However, for this, I am pretty much just going to be wrapping around the staff just simple rope designs throughout, and very, very few of these little curvy designs. Once more though, you are the artist, so go forth to whatever makes you happy. I'm mostly just going to use the white paint first to begin with. Get yourself a nice fine paintbrush and just make simple lines in a diagonal formation around the staff. You can even cross some of the lines if you want. And I'm not going to put a lot of design at the top at the bottom of the staff. Mostly it's going to be where I will be holding the staff, so that's going to be closer to the center. And this is just to get the reference as accurate as possible. I know I strayed off with that. I was having too much fun, but whatever. I'm very happy that it came out this way. So if you want to do it the way that I did the top part of the staff here with the swirls, I'll just show you a little example here. Just make simple kind of like C shapes, if you will. Give it a little bit of a snowflake design. At least that's how I like it. You can do it however way that you want, or find some ice references online. There's definitely plenty of them. But this is pretty much the technique that I will be using throughout. And then after you are done with the white, you can go over a little bit with the light blue. And not completely over the white, just in some areas to give a little bit of that blue effect. Here you go. This is pretty much how it should look like. And one little final step is that with your Tulip glitter paint that I mostly used for the sweatshirt, there we go, that we can see it all. It has a wonderful fine pointer tip, so you don't need any paintbrush, but with just a little of the areas, just put a little bit of the silver paint throughout. And it doesn't look pretty right now, but it should dry clear so that all that you see, if you see over on the top part of the staff, is the shiny glitter. So this gives it a nice look, especially when you're going through the convention center and there's a lot of lights. It'll just hit the staff very nicely. So I'm going to finish up this part and the rest of the staff, because I don't think that I really need to go into a speed up of this video on how I do the rest of it. I think you guys get the point. But the next time that you will see me, it will be the completed Jack Frost staff. Hope you guys had a lot of fun. If this was helpful, if you got any ideas from it, great, happy, please subscribe. And Yami Sorceress is out. Love you all.